Hello? Hi, Mommy. You're coming? When? Now?
Welcome, Mom. Mom, is that okay?
No garden.
Hold on, Mom. Let me show you.
Slowly, ya.
So, Mom, do you like it?
I love it. I want to buy the place next door.
Malaysia, a land of cosmopolitan cities, glorious food, colorful cultures, a rich heritage, breathtaking natural wonders. But much more than that, we have our amazing Malaysian hospitality. Malaysia welcomes you with open arms. Come meet our warm and caring people. Experience an ideal health and wellness retreat where we show you globally acclaimed healthcare at its best. Be cared for by internationally trained specialists at modern healthcare establishments featuring state-of-the-art facilities. Rest easy, knowing that as a growing halal hub, halal facilities and medical alternatives are also widely available. All within an award-winning healthcare destination that is closely monitored by the country's Ministry of Health. And with English being widely spoken and translators easily available, communication is a breeze. So, you are assured of safe and quality treatments at our hospitals here. Malaysia Healthcare, bringing you quality, accessibility, and affordability. It's time you experience our warmth and friendliness for yourself. Quality care for your peace of mind.
here in Singapore, we see that the investors here, they are really actively looking outside for opportunities in outside the country. And the good thing is now here in ASEAN itself, the opportunities are so close, that close to us. We don't have to look far. This is actually, I feel, is a golden decade, and this is also the golden region.
I want to thank GA Group for collaborating with us this year to have the Global Diaspora Summit as well as the ASEAN Legal Alliance Conference to be held jointly. And it was also my pleasure to have signed the collaboration agreements with OA International, Estate Planning Council, as well as Guangxi 1E Law Firm. Congratulations to all of you, and hope that we can do more business together.
Selamat pagi adik, banyak terima kasih adik, banyak-banyak terima kasih adik. Saya tak mau lupa macam itu lah. Saya sudah minta bantuan, adik kasih saya. Kasih tengok adik, you kasih bawah, saya senang ambil saya. Anak kahwin semua lain-lain, dia orang dua-dua. Nanti anak-anak datang rumah, masak makan itu saja. Pasal apa, warga mas kan tak ada kerja, apa pun tak ada kerja, kita orang duduk rumah. Nanti sekarang you kasih saya, kita orang boleh makan. Banyak terima kasih semua, itu adik perempuan pun cakap banyak terima kasih ya.
Kakak pun lama tak kerja, minta bantuan segi, ya barang dapur lah, apa. Semuanya lah nanti ada belanja segi-segi pun. Beli macam itu, habis sewa rumah, ya makan apa. 3 bulan sudah tak kerja ya.
Masa pandemi ini kami tidak kerja lah. Boleh niaga, tapi yang beli tak ada memang. Niaga diperbolehkan memang, tapi yang belinya tak ada lah. Jadi model kami inilah hanya membutuhkan bantuan-bantuan dari orang lah gitu. Semacam Kincara sangat bagus, sangat respect sama kami lah begitu. Semoga Kincara ke depan tambah maju, tambah sukses, dan mudah-mudahan mengerti atas kebutuhan kami semua lah yang kami butuhkan itu. Bukan hanya sekedar makan kan. Begitu, terima kasih Kincara.
A very good afternoon to everyone and welcome back. My name is Wani and I am your MC for the day. A quick recap on the house rules of the conference are: the access link to the webinar is unique to only one person and it should not be forwarded or shared with anyone else. Close all apps, browsers, and emails to minimize your internet bandwidth. Participants' microphones will be muted to minimize disruption to the audio quality. No part of the e-material may be reproduced in any form, stored in a retrieval system, transmitted by any means electronically or mechanically, photocopied or recorded without the prior permission of the author or the company. Without further ado, we shall now move into our second roundtable discussion titled Going Beyond Malaysia, Know Your Business Getaway to the East. We are honored to have Mr. Farizal Jaafar, who is currently the Chief Strategy Officer at Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council, MHTC, an agency under the purview of the Ministry of Health, Malaysia, tasked to promote and facilitate the healthcare travel industry of Malaysia. He possesses over 25 years of professional experience specializing in corporate strategy, brand development, digital marketing, and business development. Next, we have Mr. Wong Che Ming. He's one of the senior partner of Wong Poon Chan Law & Co., a firm of solicitors in Hong Kong. His expertise in China-appointed attestation, commercial arbitration, criminal litigation, conveyancing and tenancy, succession and estate planning, and other mainland China-related. Wong is also a member of the Railway Objection Hearing Panel and formerly District Advisor of Hong Kong to the Central People's Government. And finally, we have Mr. Dar Wong, who is a professional in securities and futures industry with 30 years of experience in global financial market. He is now the leading corporate financing, covering structured portfolio, debt financing, fundraising exercise, and merger and acquisition. Currently, his focuses in expanding the blockchain technology while transforming the asset businesses into the digital marketing. I will now introduce you. The moderator of the day is Mr. Vincent Fong. Over to you, Mr. Vincent.
Thank you, Ms. Wani. Okay, we have a very, very interesting session this morning with the ASEAN perspective. But you'll be getting even more interesting this afternoon as we are moving from the east to the west at the same time. But the first stop should be in the east first. But before we go towards that, I would like to share with you that we have more than 50 different organizations having a booth at our virtual expo, of which some of them are the charity organizations. Why is that so? Because this event itself is a charitable event of which all proceeds will be donated to them. So feel free to give them a visit, pay them a visit if you feel that you want to donate even more. But okay, we have three distinguished panelists here. First of all, we have Mr. Farizal. Thanks for joining us, even though you have a very big event on your own organizations this past week. Thanks a lot for your time, and especially during a Saturday.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And we also have Mr. Wong and Mr. Wong. First of all, I'd like to introduce the Hong Kong Mr. Wong first. How are you today, Mr. Steve Wong?
I'm fine. Love to see you all.
Yes, and we have the other Mr. Wong, who is the Vice President of the ASEAN China Associations. How are you today, Mr. Da Wong?
I'm good. Thank you, Vincent. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon.
Okay, the topic of today is the gateway to the East. Okay, when we are referring to the gateway to the East, actually, I believe a lot of people are thinking about the superpower next to us, which is China. Okay, I believe a lot of us has benefited from the past, from the rise of the China in the past 10 years. Okay, which they have become the second largest economy in the world. Okay, so actually, why are we having this panel? First of all, Malaysia Healthcare Travel Councils. I understand that you have a very big presence in China as well, right, Mr. Farizal?
That's correct.
Yes, because Malaysia has developed a brand to promote the healthcare services to the world. And even though it's to the world, we still need to actually focus in individual markets. And this is why we have the Chief Strategy Officer, Mr. Farizal, to share with us the strategy of MHTC in the past, as well as to move forward. And Mr. Steve Wong, being someone from Hong Kong, you have witnessed the change of China over the past, I would say, a few decades, right?
Yes. And I say I'm part of it.
Yes, you are part of China now. And Mr. Da Wong has always been very active in actually serving, in actually doing business with the businesses in China as well. So perhaps he can share with us some of the experience. But having said that, I think what is in everyone's mind now is, of course, why should we go regional or global post-COVID? Because a lot of our participants are from Malaysia. Okay, moving out from Malaysia may generate a lot of fear of unknown, no more home ground advantage, and how to mitigate the risks. So before we move towards that, I would like Mr. Farizal to share the experience of Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council first, okay, on how Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council actually bring Malaysia to the world. Off to you, Mr. Farizal.
All right, so I'll just share my screen. Give me a minute.
I see.
So you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So thank you very much, Vincent, for this opportunity and also including us, Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council, as part of this conversation. It is very timely, and it's also something that we are very passionate and keen in driving Malaysia healthcare to the world. So MHTC, or Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council, is an agency that is entrusted to promote healthcare travel in Malaysia. It was first established in 2011 under the purview of Ministry of Health Malaysia. And the Malaysia Healthcare represents the country's healthcare travel industry. And back then at 2011 till today, our tagline remains quality care for your peace of mind. And this resonates very clearly with the industry that we are in. And also for us, Malaysia is the lead. What our vision is to have Malaysia to be the leading global healthcare destination. And for us, it's promoting Malaysia healthcare globally and facilitating the industry in a very sustainable manner. And this is critical for us when we go into international market to grow our market share. And we also facilitate and coordinate the development of the healthcare industry. This industry has a market size of a potential of quite close to $274 billion by 2027. So this is a tremendous potential for us and also our competitors within the region. So most recently, in the 12th Malaysia Plan, healthcare travel was part of a national agenda, and particularly focusing on digitization and digital innovation. For us, there's a lot more to be done in terms of adoption of big data analytics and real-time analytics. And this is where we really need to strengthen the holistic end-to-end care in providing high quality healthcare. And in post-COVID, on an era of the endemic, we will definitely see a shift in healthcare travelers, where we would definitely need to focus more on the highly curated high-end medical tourism packages and to attract the premium healthcare travelers coming into Malaysia. The other component that was really detailed in the Malaysia plan was the aged care services, particularly in retirement living, as an export service. And this for us is to position Malaysia as a choice destination in the region for healthcare travelers. So for us, we have an end game goal. By 2025, we need to progressively scale to a $2 billion in terms of healthcare travel revenue. And we see a multiplier effect of up to 8 billion ringgit. And this augurs very well for the industry, particularly in the different attraction, retail, food and beverage, hotels, and so forth and so on. And this is an impact point to the Malaysian economy. For us, MHTC acts as a bridge between the public and the private players in the healthcare travel industry. It is a component where we cultivate an end-to-end seamless journey, focusing on patient centricity and experience. So when the patient arrives to KLIA or KLIA2 or even Penang International Airport, they are welcomed by our concierge and lounge services. And this is where we facilitate movement of these individuals so that their treatment together with the member hospitals are well taken care of throughout their journey in Malaysia. And perhaps also encouraging them to stay a little bit longer, to experience Malaysia in terms of wellness and tourism, and ensuring that their departure is also well taken care of before they go home and through follow-ups thereafter. We do this through being super focused. Number one, the unique proposition where we address the global needs are really hinged on three key factors. Number one, we're able to provide world-class quality, highly regulated healthcare system monitored by the Ministry of Health Malaysia. Many of our hospitals, in fact, all of them are accredited hospitals, either with Joint Commission International, to RTEC, to MSQH, or relevant accreditation under ISQA. We are also regulated through Ministry of Health through our medical fee schedule 13, which allows us to have price comparisons that are far more affordable than many in the region. Number three, ease of accessibility. Literally with zero waiting time for appointments, allowing patients from overseas to meet a lot of our specialists quite immediately. So with over 200 private hospitals in Malaysia, including dental, healthcare, wellness centers, there are about 73 of those that are active player in the healthcare travel segment. And these are our member hospitals, which I'll explain in the slides after this. And I think coupled with those three anchor components, we are also well known as a global halal hub, a tourism haven. We are warm and hospitable, and a transportation hub. So out of the 200 over facilities in Malaysia, 73 are MHTC partner members, and of which 22 are elite and 51 are ordinary members. Now, these memberships are critical to us because they are partners with us when we go out to the market in particular countries in propagating Malaysia healthcare. And these memberships are, again, providing niche treatments through focused promotion and marketing, allowing patients to multiple choices for them to come to Malaysia to have continuous care and service throughout their tenure during their stay in Malaysia. So where is the healthcare growth coming from? So for us, we had a tremendous spike from 2015 right up to 2019, with quite close to 16.3 CAGR, outpacing regional growth. In fact, in 2019, the healthcare travel revenue hit a record high of quite close to 1.7 billion, with 1.22 million in terms of volume. So some of the most sought after treatments in 2019 were oncology, cardiology, IVF, which has success rates above global average, health screening, orthopedic, and neurology. And of course, some of our top HTOs, which we call health tourists, those purposely flying into Malaysia, were from Indonesia, China, Australia, Singapore, and India. So it was a very good year for all of us right up to 2019. But of course, COVID hit, and 2020 and 2021 was certainly not spared. 2020, we tanked right down to about 53% decline from our 2019's numbers. And this year as well, it went down a little bit more, but we're very optimistic. We have plans set in place, set in motion to really gear us back up to 2025, where we have revenue projections of close to 2 billion, bringing us quite close to 2019's projection. So moving forward, where is the landscape for us in 2022 to 2025? And we do this in a very focused and strategic manner. So number one, recently we launched the blueprint that outlines the strategic plans from 2021 right up to 2025, setting the premise towards becoming the trusted leading healthcare travel destination by 2035. This blueprint that is available online charts the first 5 years, focus heavily on the recovery and rebuilding of the industry. So that if you look at the chart on the left quadrant is phase A. And this for us is a very focused approach, really ensuring that we land on our objective, which is going to be the best Malaysia healthcare travel experience by 2025. So what does the blueprint entail? The blueprint aspiration is, again, as I mentioned earlier, is to really provide the best healthcare travel experience by 2025. And we aspire to provide the best healthcare travel experience to healthcare travelers seeking treatment in Malaysia, with experience being the primary industry focus within the next 5 years. And when we did this, we leveraged on the demand and the competing analysis of other industry players. There were of course, growing threat in the healthcare travel industry. And we do see the need to improve the entire travel journey experience. We broke it down into 3 key pillars. Number one, healthcare travel ecosystem, which will look at the seamless experience through medical and service excellence. Point number 2, healthcare brand, the Malaysia healthcare brand, where we see stronger country brands amongst those within the APAC region, particularly that of Thailand, South Korea, and Singapore. And of course, where do we want to grow, and where are the opportunities for growth in core markets and new markets that we need to penetrate? So we then divided it into 8 key strategic objectives. So together with our stakeholders here in Malaysia and some of our partners in the region, we embark on this 5-year plan to ensure that there are deliverables on each year leading up to 2025. So one of the key things, particularly in terms of the travel ecosystem, we really need to ensure that there's improvement in quality of care. Number 2, enhance service delivery quality. And number 3, sustainability through diversification. In the Malaysia healthcare brand, we really need to take a look again at increasing brand cohesiveness across all touch points. Again, post-COVID, it is a reset button where we really need to deliberate and re-emphasize on the brand Malaysia Healthcare to the global audience. We need to amplify the brand equity in our core markets. They need to resonate with Malaysia healthcare and come to Malaysia whenever they think of health and wellness. And point number 3, to protect and grow the primary markets. Currently, it is Indonesia, but we also want to develop focus markets like China, like in Hong Kong, and enter into and develop very niche markets. And how do we do this? We have multiple areas of core focus, as well as the niche offering, particularly in cardiology. So we brand our cardiology offerings as Cardiology Hub of Asia. Fertility Hub of Asia is another core driver for us. Cancer Care of Excellence, flagship medical tourism program that is coming up next year, and international retirement living for healthy seniors living here in Malaysia. And of course, most recently, Hepatitis C Treatment Hub. And these all anchors upon our core focus areas, which are cardiology, oncology, orthopedic, fertility, and aesthetics. 2022 will be definitely an exciting year for us. We look at primary markets. So how do we divide this? Is really to ensure that primary markets are those that we see potential in providing needle-moving revenue components. So for example, Indonesia and China will definitely be a component that we will be focusing on. Singapore, with VTL opening up very shortly, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Australia, and New Zealand. Primary markets are very important for us because we do have a lot of representations. For example, in Indonesia, we have our Malaysia Healthcare Representative Office, as well as in China, the Malaysia International Referral Centers. So this allows us to really capitalize on a lot of our current resources in these markets, and also because of our medical travel SOPs that's currently available to our healthcare patients, they're able to fly into Malaysia just to observe the quarantine period, and they can seek treatment, so allowing continuity of care. So markets where we call focus markets are incubation markets, where we will be seen to drive awareness and engaging more and more with the market to seize potential. These include Hong Kong, Cambodia, Vietnam, and United Kingdom. And of course, niche market, because specifically they are looking at very sub-specialization. These includes Brunei, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Oman. So market outreach and key initiative in Indonesia has been really robust for us. For us, it's really to ensure that we drive higher conversion through a lot of our partnerships in Indonesia, through agents or strategic partnerships that we forge together with partners at the local level. And this is really to drive the awareness of Malaysia healthcare. And we continue to drive this awareness in the second tier, as well as the outreach in the third tier cities. And we are super active in markets like Indonesia, where they seek all sorts of treatment. Things like, for example, the MH Expo in Jakarta in 2020, and we did it again in 2021, but more virtual. This year, where we engage KOLs in the particular market and member hospitals to be part of this virtual session, where we had a tremendous amount of engagement that actually converts to conversion to hospitals. We do a lot of virtual health talks presently because borders are still closed, with multiple hospitals with their doctors. And what we've learned from all of this is really to ensure that we customize to our audience, particularly those in Indonesia. We need to make sure that doctors who comes on board as part of our virtual talks are speaking in Indonesian, so that those audience are able to relate and understand in their local language. And as I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of strategic partnerships, and partnerships that we've never thought that we would do in the past are things that we are doing now. There's a lot more flexibility from the partners at the local level, and as well for Malaysia and the Malaysian partners as well. So in terms of in China, so the same thing, what we do is what we are trying to continue to build our awareness of Malaysia healthcare and to further position Malaysia as the fertility hub of Asia at the targeted cities. And I think we continue to expand our partner network in China to provide excellent patient experience. And we've done this with some of the local hospitals there, as well as doing a lot of the live stream about Malaysia healthcare with some of our doctors, as well as some of our partners like Tourism Malaysia and airlines as well. And I think what is very important is to have continuous medical education amongst the doctors, so that everyone is aware what is actually happening in Malaysia in the context of fertility and or any other components that we have specializations in. So for Malaysia healthcare presence in China, in particularly these three locations, I think what is the biggest component for us is to have physical presence in China for ease of contact point. And for the patient experience, there's somebody that is able to explain, to become the conduit between Malaysia and those that is based currently in China. So they are the ones who provide second medical opinions, a lot of pre-treatment arrangement, visa arrangement, and all kind of travel arrangements, allowing them a peace of mind. And by the time they get to Malaysia, they are able to then concentrate and focus on the treatment. In Hong Kong, we are developing a lot of awareness in terms of Malaysia healthcare, providing as a part of an alternative destination. And this is truly about capitalizing and also understanding the cost of medical in Hong Kong can be relatively higher than that of if you were to seek the treatment here in Malaysia. And this is where we are focusing a lot of our efforts in digital campaigns to seed content and to provide, I think, best practice that is available here in Malaysia. And we do this through platforms like this that we are speaking on, virtual health talks, a multitude of digital campaigns across all our platforms, and business expos and property expos as well. So the blueprint that was launched just recently, in fact, on the 1st of November, details a lot of information. You can screen the QR code so that you can get a copy, or you can go directly to our links here. It details really a top-line strategy, where we are heading in 2021, what our key focus are in 2022, and right down to 2025 as we reach the ultimate goal of being the experience of coming to Malaysia. So you can also follow us on our platforms on WeChat, Weibo, as well as news platforms out of China. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram in Hong Kong. So we try to facilitate with a lot of fresh content and a different take of content, where the content are laced together with some tourism opportunities, as well as some healthcare, some good tips in terms of how to take care of yourself, wellness, as well as a travel guide if you choose to come and seek treatment here in Malaysia. So before I end my presentation, so if you have any questions, I have 2 contact details, particularly out of those taking care of China and Hong Kong. You can reach out to Alice. Her contact details are up there. And if you have any questions on Indonesia, you can contact Farah. Or if you have questions on Malaysia Healthcare Travel Councils in general, you can reach us at the number provided below. With that, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Farizal, for a very interesting sharing about MHCC strategy. By the way, actually, we have collaborated with the Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council in Hong Kong for a number of years. Previously, I was promoting Malaysia, my second home, in Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council Representative Office in Hong Kong. Okay, that was, I think, about 8 years back. Then subsequent to that, we have our M2H Club in Hong Kong, of which I think we are also collaborating to generate more interest and also to get more people into Malaysia. But we have another expert about Hong Kong, which is Mr. Steve Wong. Okay, I haven't been back to Hong Kong for more than a year now, ever since the COVID lockdown. Partly because if I travel back to Hong Kong, I'll need to quarantine for 21 days. Yes. And then coming back to Malaysia, another 14 days. And this will be very, very tough for me in terms of my schedule. So Steve, Mr. Steve Wong, okay, we are fortunate to have you here because after hearing from what Mr. Farizal has mentioned about MHCC strategy, in particular in China and Hong Kong. Okay, I think a lot of people, besides hearing the sharing, we also want to know what is the current situation in Hong Kong now. Is it still good to do business in Hong Kong? Yes. In particular, in the context of China. So I would like to hear from you as well. Could you please share with us your experience, or what is your take on this at the moment?
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody, particularly ALA members. Now, first of all, let me report to you in Hong Kong now. It is sunny day. The weather is good. Now, first of all, perhaps I should report about what have happened in Hong Kong in 2019, starting from 2019 up to now. Because of the COVID-19, most of you would not be able to travel at all, particularly to Hong Kong. As you know that we want to travel in Hong Kong, we will have to undergo 21-day quarantine. So you may not be able to know the present situation in Hong Kong. Now, as I was informed about the topic of the topic is the general legal and investment climate in Hong Kong in light of the national security law and COVID-19. Now I should start with the national security law. Why will we have the national security law at all? Now, first of all, perhaps let me tell you what happened about in the mid-2019. Starting from the mid-2019, Hong Kong is in a turmoil. We have all the demonstration, and then the demonstration become a riot. Now let me show you the several pictures. This is the Hong Kong before and also now. Now, before the national security law, this had almost happened every day in Hong Kong, in different parts of Hong Kong. They have saying that they want the demonstration like water, means like water, it moves to everywhere and anywhere. So that they want to drain all the resources of the police. Say, for example, they make a roadblock in Central. Now the picture you are seeing is in Central, the CBD in Hong Kong. And after an hour or so, the demonstrator will move to another part of Hong Kong. So to make sure that the police will get very, very exhausted. So you just can't imagine in the CBD, in the central of Hong Kong, you can see a roadblock like this. And then in the heat of the riot, I think this is about in the beginning of 2020. You see, it's almost like a war. It's like a war zone. A lot of petrol bomb. And also the mass transit, our major transport system has been more or less, so some of the stations have been destroyed. You see, they throw the petrol bomb into the carriageway. And also our Legislative Council building has been invaded. The Council Hall has been occupied and a lot of damages has been done inside. And I remember in January 2020, our international airport has to be closed because the international airport has also been occupied. So this is a very serious interruption of the business in Hong Kong. You just can imagine, even our international airport has been closed for almost 1 week. Now, with all this in the background, on 30th June 2020, the Chinese government promulgated the national security law. It seems that there is no choice. That is the only way to put Hong Kong into peace again. Now and then you see the comparison between 2019 and 2020 after the promulgation of the national security law. The same situation, same place, before and after. This is Mong Kok area, the BC district. Sorry, this is the Hong Kong Island. And this is what I just mentioned, the Mongkok area. Now you see that the demonstrations are very well organized. They are well equipped. So it is not just ordinary people coming to demonstrate. If one look at their equipment, their organization, one cannot help whether there is some organizer behind. Now, this is one of the scenes where the mass transit station is being destroyed, and your right-hand side, you see after the national security law, peace and order is restored. Now, people complain, particularly for Western media, that the national security law is very Jangonian. But I must emphasize that freedom is preserved, and Hong Kong quickly returned to normalcy. Now, if you look at the picture, the 2019 picture is very interesting. The American flag is being hoisted in the soil of in the Chinese soil. It's very interesting. Now, well, I say that the freedom of expression remains because even with the promulgation of the national security law, in fact, people are allowed to express themselves. For example, this is one of the picture I obtained from downtown in Kowloon area, where the umbrella movement, the morale of the umbrella movement still allowed to be there. So it is not true that a Hong Kong degree of freedom has been concluded. At least people here still have freedom of expression. You can say whatever you like, so long as you do not advocate, for example, the breakdown of Hong Kong or organizing quiet. Now, I make a short comparison between the Hong Kong riot and the storming of the USA Capitol, and when you will see the difference. Now in Hong Kong, when our legislative chamber is being invaded, a lot of damage has been done. But if I compare with the American part, it seems that it's still in order. Now you see that the demonstrator inside the Legislative Council building, they are destroying the painting inside. Let me go back. So we must say that in Hong Kong, we managed to contain the violence with minimum force so far. During the whole 1.5 years, there is no direct casualty from the riot. But if compared with American, that day they have 5 casualties, 5 deaths. So one cannot say that brutality in Hong Kong. I was the one who witnessed it. There is minimum force employed by the police. So that is why after 1.5 years, there is no direct casualty from this riot. So it is difficult for the outsider to see the true picture of Hong Kong. But as I am the one who has been here for the whole period of time, so I can tell you that the national security law become a necessity in order to make Hong Kong peace again. Now let me turn to the COVID-19. Now, this is a statistic showing that how we control the COVID-19. Now, up to the 12th of November this month, the total local infection is only about 12,000. And the death up to now is 212. So by and large, we are quite successful in controlling the COVID-19, but certainly at a high cost. Hong Kong has been locked down for almost 2 years. And as I said, Hong Kong become truly an island. We have been locked down from the world, and also the border between Hong Kong and China has also been closed. But how we manage to control it, you see from the picture in Hong Kong, everybody wear a mask. We have a very stringent measure of control. So first of all, we are quite obedient in the sense that we obey the order of the government. Notwithstanding that we have very stringent control, but most of the measures are voluntary. For example, we have an app. The app is voluntary. There is no compulsory. So by and large, our vaccination, I confess that it is not quite successful. So far, we only have about 70%. We have difficulty in convincing the senior citizen. I understand that for the senior citizen, the vaccination is less than 30%. This is very unsatisfactory. Now, as I said, we have a Leave Home Safe app, but it's on voluntary basis. Most of the measures are voluntary. Now, since we have quite successful control, we have no internal infection for over 2 months. We have 0. So now the life started to become normal. Now we have the Standard Charter Marathon 2021. We managed to hold this marathon in October this year. Now, back to the business. I'm convinced that Hong Kong remains the best place to do business. Now, let me tell you why. Now, among the Greater China, mainland Hong Kong and Macau, Hong Kong is the only place where common law jurisdiction still in Hong Kong. So, and lots of the Western media saying that the Hong Kong lost the judicial independence. I can assure you that's wrong, because there's a latest decision in the Court of Final Appeal in Hong Kong, the highest court in Hong Kong. The government is prosecuting quite a number of rioters this year. The government, the prosecution is trying to invoke the doctrine of joint enterprise, the common law doctrine of joint enterprise in riot and unlawful assembly cases. But this has been thrown down by the Court of Final Appeal. The Court of Final Appeal ruled that the common law doctrine of joint enterprise cannot be applicable in riot and unlawful assembly of cases. So that means that our highest court not necessarily always side with the government. So it is also a vivid example of the independent judiciary independency. Now, next, I would introduce you about a very new introduction of new measure, which is the mutual recognition of an assistant to insolvency proceeding, which is in May 2021. Now, this is a very important assistance to liquidators from Hong Kong. And from now on, the liquidator from Hong Kong may apply to the mainland court for recognition of the insolvency proceedings in Hong Kong. Likewise, bankruptcy administrators from mainland can also apply to Hong Kong for recognition. This is very important for corporate reconstruction, and it will be give a lot of protection to the overseas creditors whenever there is any business failure, either in mainland or in Hong Kong. So because it is just newly implemented, so a lot of things will have to be settled. Now, next will be the arrangement concerning mutual enforcement of arbitral awards and supplemental arrangement. Now, the most important area of this particular arrangement is the party can arrange preservative measure before or after the commencement of arbitration proceeding. That is very important. It only applies to arbitration where the sitting is in Hong Kong. So again, this is one of the all those assistance or blessing from China to Hong Kong. So the courts of the two of Hong Kong and mainland accept the application for enforcement of arbitral award, and also the another important measure is the winner of arbitration award can commence enforcement proceeding simultaneously both in China, in mainland, and in Hong Kong. This is very important advantages. Now, regarding the economic side, probably you all heard about the Great Bay Area. The 9 mainland cities plus Hong Kong and Macau. And if you want to look at the picture, you see that the green area is the 9 cities from China, and the orange one, the Hong Kong and Macau. So the total population for the Great Bay Area is about 70 million. And this particular, in this 9 cities, each city, I understand, has their own expertise. For example, Shenzhen in high tech, Zhongshan in lighting industry, Shaoxing tourist industry. So Hong Kong will be part of this Greater Bay Area. Hong Kong will be specialized in financial area. Now, another important aspect in Hong Kong is even Hong Kong is a small place, only have 7 odd million, but we have 10 universities, with 5 of those is the top 5 in the top 100. And it will afford research and innovation. So whereby we want to invest in Hong Kong, expertise is no problem. Now, as one will say that whether what I have said is just a rosy picture, but lately I discovered that even the local developer, the local businessman invest heavily in Hong Kong. For example, say for commercial development, last month, one of the local developer, they paid the highest price in Asia for a central harbourfront commercial development. And for residential, there is one residential area which has fetched the highest residential price, I think, more or less, perhaps in the world, is $140,000 per square feet. So this is where you put your money. You put your money where your mouth is. Well, that is all I have to say at the moment. So if you have any question you want to ask me, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Steve Wong. It has been a very timely update about the current situation in Hong Kong. Okay, so everyone thought that Hong Kong has changed a lot, but
Yes.
it seems that it has also changed for the better.
Yes.
Mr. Da Wong, are you also a frequent traveler to Hong Kong?
I would say yes and no, but before the COVID, I had been traveling like to 22 countries, but particularly in China and Hong Kong itself, I have been there many times for businesses and meetings. So I'm not a stranger to Hong Kong. Steve will be my next friend there for coffee and tea when I can travel to Hong Kong.
I see, I see. But this brings to one question I believe a lot of us are trying to ask, especially me. Okay, we are talking about gateway to the East. Will Hong Kong still stay relevant as a gateway to China? Okay, so Steve, I believe that you are definitely a strong supporter to that. You believe that Hong Kong should be the gateway to China, isn't it?
Yes. Well, from what China has been given to Hong Kong, it is very clear that it is China's intention to keep the status in Hong Kong as it is. And furthermore, because Hong Kong is as I said before, is the only place where common law apply. So, and then common law is very important in international trade, in monetary law. So I think this will maintain Hong Kong's status for the time being, even after the 2047. I'm confident. Yeah. China will maintain Hong Kong as a superconductor.
I see. Mr. Farizal, I believe that Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council previously has actually go to Hong Kong first before moving into China. But what is your current view in the context of what Hong Kong is now and as well as China? How would you actually use Hong Kong as a gateway at the moment?
No, that's a very good question. And you know, post-COVID and as travel begins again, we, as what we shared earlier, we are going to reset our strategy, particularly out of Hong Kong. There's a need for us to come back again. And again, we are doing this in stages, really to start elevating by awareness, sharing with the population and the residents in Hong Kong that Malaysia healthcare is an eminent choice. Because of accessibility, but we understand presently because of quarantine periods, this somewhat limits the travel option and the opportunity for them to travel. But we are still quite perseverant on this thought because we still need to make sure that our name, Malaysia Healthcare, and our member hospitals are known in the market so that when the borders resumes, they are able to then make it back to Malaysia.
Okay, from your slide that you shared just now, I see that China is the second largest market after Indonesia. Okay, so if I understand correctly, Malaysia Healthcare was popular in Indonesia being the first major foreign countries that come to Malaysia for healthcare, right? When is actually Malaysia actively promoting healthcare services to foreign countries?
All right, that has been the mandate of Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council. For us, we identify markets based upon data that we have from the tourism numbers, as well as the Malaysia Healthcare healthcare numbers as well from the member hospitals. So from there, we are able to identify which are the most immediate within our purview. And we've noticed, for example, majority of them for healthcare travelers before COVID are coming in those within the 5-hour flight time. And this resonates quite based on what we do see. Many of them find that if there are more longer distance, long haul, may not necessarily be so conducive versus those within the near home market. So that's why you do see countries like China, Hong Kong, before COVID, did in fact arrive into Malaysia to seek treatments. Indonesia has always been a feeder market because of its proximity. So has Singapore, right? So this is where we are able to now customize our messaging to the specific markets, rather than, again, in the past where a lot of healthcare providers would just flood the market with a lot of information, and it's an information overload, right? So today, what we have taken, we are customizing our approach on digital as well as online and any other offline opportunities.
Okay, I understand that you have, I think, 21 or 22 elite hospital, more than 70 over member hospitals, but not every one of them is offering fertility as a treatment choice, right? But you have chosen fertility as a main service or center of excellence to promote in China. Okay, so why is that so? Is it because of the national policy of China?
Yes, and I think we opted this strategy is because of, number one, the policy. We needed to seize the opportunity. Number two, we do have amazing facilities here in Malaysia. At the last count, we have quite close to 70 fertility centers here in Malaysia, of which 6 are accredited by the RTEC. So we do have facilities, and also their track record has been fantastic for Malaysia, and not only out of China, but we also have served Indonesia and many other citizens from other countries to come to Malaysia to seek fertility treatment. So again, the ecosystem within Malaysia helps a fertility patient go through end-to-end service through the experience, and allowing them to then recommend other couples that are seeking assistance in this area.
Okay, Mr. Da Wong or Mr. Steve Wong, I wonder whether you still remember when does China adopted the second child policy?
Yes.
Is that 2016?
Yes, 2016. Yes.
Yes, I heard that they are implementing the third child policy now, right?
Yeah, chances are they are going to relax it at all.
I see. That means free for all, any number that you wish. Is that right?
Can have 3 kids, but only still 1 wife.
That is very important. Yes.
Yes.
But Mr. Da Wong, by your experience in engaging with Chinese enterprises and doing business with them, how important is China's national policy in influencing the investor choice, be it into China or out from China?
Okay, I will just talk about the 3-child policy. This is very important. All right.
Yes.
Okay, you see what happened is if you look back into Asia, okay, ex-China, if I'm not wrong, we are talking about 30 or 40 years back in Japan, there was 160 million population. But today, I think Japan is having about 110. So there is a big reduction of 1/3 population. So because of the aging population and because of modernization, young parents or youngsters are not getting married, they are not producing, which is why Japan has been going to a recession for the last 25 years, and economy is warning. Okay, it's warning. If we look at China today, okay, definitely the Chinese government is planning far ahead, okay, beyond 30 years. Because when we talk about the Belt and Road initiatives, we are talking about perhaps at least 90 years, because 30年一个革命期, we're on the early stage, middle stage on the Belt and Road initiative, and the last stage 30 years. So if they can plan a 90 years revolution on the economic changes, then they have to make sure that the population will sustain. Because China today has got 1.4 billion population, all right? And if we are looking at 60% of the population that is contributing to consumer spending, which is very healthy, anything more is a bonus. Anything lower is no good. In every country, 60% of consumer spending is being healthy. So if you are taking a 60%, in China, we are talking about a 600 to 700 million of people are spending money every day, not just on food, but buying TVs, buying luxurious goods, buying watches. So if China is not producing, and there is this very funny phenomenon in every country that turns into modernization and more developed, where people are enjoying life, stay in better environment and condominiums and big houses, they start not to have children anymore. Okay, correct or not, Steve? So when this happened, you just imagine if China now is being the largest consumer market in the world, but 30 years down the road, if it becomes less than 1 billion, okay, but the economic size keep growing, but they don't have this consumer spending and the population to support, that would be a big disaster, right? It's a big disaster, which is why I think, of course, 50 years ago, China just had one kid policy, but today I think definitely they can afford to have more. People are living much better. Kids are eating fast food and spending money nowadays, on many things. Unlike those days or even nowadays, we were playing marbles in the 70s, but now things are changing. So I think in this part, the CCP and government's policy will be very important to kick the way of the whole country into the future of next 100 years, not just 10 or 20 years. This is very, very important. If you allow me 1 more minute, I just want to add on something on Hong Kong. Just now when Steve presented this slide, I was very impressed. I love Hong Kong. And I always believe Hong Kong is the pearl of the Asia, as what many people say, I have no doubt that Hong Kong will remain as a very vibrant springboard to China. But why Chinese CCP has actually created this Great Bay Area, we call Tawan Qi? Because the Tawan Qi is actually combining 11 cities, okay, to form one single economic entity, and that will become the biggest economic entity in the whole southern part of China, which is why China is trying to create what they call 北有长三角，南有大湾区. So on this Tawan Qi itself, there's no doubt that Hong Kong is still the springboard to Shenzhen, to Guangzhou. But what about Zhaoqing? What about this Foshan and this Zhuhai? Okay, that's the reason why Chinese is now trying to craft Hainan Island as the next trade-free zone and a shipping port. Okay, not to compete with Hong Kong, but actually to complement each other. So besides Hong Kong, of course, Steve may not like it, but besides Hong Kong, I think we should be looking at Hainan in the next decade. In this coming decade, in fact, this will be the two gateway into China.
So Mr. Da Wong has proposed, has actually explained to us there is potentially another gateway to China moving forward, which is Hainan.
Yes.
Okay. Hainan also an island, but a much bigger island that has share a lot of the same climate and also the culture with Malaysia and Singapore. Okay, the Southeast Asian's environment. Mr. Steve Wong.
Yes.
Coming back to the questions, because now you have competitors now having another gateway. So how would you actually promote Hong Kong as a gateway? Okay, especially in the context of the national policy in China. You have mentioned that Chinese government has given you a few good arrangement, okay, that strengthen your legal system. But in terms of business benefit, what benefit do I have to actually set up my base in Hong Kong as compared to, let's say, Hainan?
Yes. Now, first of all, Hong Kong is an international city. So for Hainan become an international city, it will take maybe half a century. Now, that another is a tradition. Well, if you compare Hong Kong to any part of the China city, you see that Hong Kong people's viewpoint are very much internationalized. If you look at the newspaper in Hong Kong, you look at South China Morning Post, you look at some Xinbao, we have a lot of international news. So first of all, Hong Kong is an international city. This place among the 11 cities, it can be hardly replaced. Number two is about the education. As I said, in Hong Kong, there's a small place. We have 10 universities. Just imagine, 10 universities, 5 out of which is within the top 100. So for education, as one said, in order to create, cultivate talent, you need 10 years, at least 10 years. Sorry, you need 100 years to build up talent. So I think I agree with Da. That will be our complement. Hong Kong and Highland we will work together. That if any competition, it will be a fair competition. So I'm confident. Lastly, apart and also financially, you have to see that we have the stock exchange. The Hong Kong Stock Exchange, I believe, is still the number 2 in terms of capital raising. Also number 2. It will take decades and decades in order to have a stock exchange comparable to Hong Kong. But I understand that Macau, they are going to have a stock exchange. Da, have you heard about it?
I have not. I would love to find out more.
I see. That what I was told that China, because in Hong Kong Stock Exchange is aiming at the English-speaking countries, but in the future in Macau, it will be focused on the Spanish-speaking countries such as South Africa, South America. So interesting. There will be another stock exchange in Macau. But in any event, I am confident with the future of Hong Kong in that aspect. Yes.
Okay. I think this will, if it's a gateway, it should be both going in and coming out. Okay. So going into China, we can go through Hong Kong. We can perhaps go through Hainan in the future. It's developing. But coming out, does it mean that, let's say in the context of stock exchange, the money flowing now is flowing to Hong Kong? I believe a lot of funds all the time is flowing from China to Hong Kong. Okay, there are also some questions from the crowd that whether Shanghai is going to take over Hong Kong as a financial center of China. That means not flowing out, staying put in China, because China has implemented some new policies, right? Common prosperities, okay, or the internal cycle, okay, 内循环.
New cycle, yes.
Yes. So in this context, I actually would like to consult Mr. Da Wong. What is your take on this? Will Hong Kong will still be the gateway for fund moving out from China?
You see, definitely Hong Kong will remain as a competitive player for a long time, like what Steve said. But mainly in my opinion, I feel that Hong Kong has established a very firm financial structure over the last 100 years. This is something that the Hainan will take, yes, 50 years or 30 years to compete. So
how about Shanghai?
Shanghai has got very good financial structure. Okay, so whether, you see, definitely we know that today the Chinese government wants to craft Shanghai as an international financial center, okay, financial hub. So in order to do that, first of all, there must be some tax incentive in order to attract foreign investors. Secondly, you must not have too stringent control on monetary flow. But although KYC must be done, of course, you all know that. Okay. And thirdly, in Shanghai itself, there must be enough foreign banks to support. Okay. Because a lot of foreigners, when they come in, yes, in Shanghai, there are a lot of good instruments, a lot of good financial market, but people may not want to open accounts or to run business with local Chinese banks. So that's when more foreign banks will come in. But when the diaspora of all these financial players gathered in Shanghai, and with this enough playground that they can diversify, I have no doubt that Shanghai will become a very big financial center. And in fact, I think the Chinese government is now, they have just implemented this year on this digital currency, right? ERB. One of the very important, I just want to cut short, not to go into the political parts, but one of the very important goal of setting this new currency system, okay, is actually to prevent too much outflow of the money going overseas, but instead keeping them onshore China, okay, and instead of putting the money into buying properties or going into a lot of investment that heated up the real estate. So a lot of money will be actually flowing back and going back to back. The only way is financial market. And in order to absorb all this huge hot cash, the financial market just have to expand and expand, which is why now they got so many market layers. They have this 主板、创业板、新创板 and 科创板, all this ban, you know. And what are all this doing? It's simply to make sure you put the money here and you don't go elsewhere. We have enough market to support this money. So what Shanghai needs and what Hainan needs is actually a stronger and more developed financial structure, like banking system especially.
Talking about money flow, I believe because of what happened to Hong Kong in the past 2 years, another city in Asia actually benefited a lot, which is the city of Singapore.
Yes.
Okay. So nowadays, rather than flowing to Hong Kong, some of these funds are flowing to Singapore. But before we discuss about that, I would like to invite Mr. Da Wong to do a presentation about what Singapore can offer, or what you can offer. At least we know about that before we come back to this discussion. Okay, off to you, Mr. Da Wong.
All right, thank you, Vincent. I shall share my screen now and start the presentation. Okay, can all of you see the screen? Okay.
Yes.
My topic today is the new horizon on ASEAN China in post-COVID, especially we are talking about 2022. In fact, 2022 is only just another less than 2 months away from us now. All right. So first of all, after disclosure and disclaimer, okay, that is my professional ethic. Okay. 5 topics to talk about today. Number 1 is pre-COVID-19 economy in the ASEAN China. Then the second topic is the impact of COVID ASEAN-19. So first and second topic, basically we are talking about 2018 and 2020. What are the differences? Because COVID-19 came in 2019. So before COVID, what was the economy doing in ASEAN China? And after COVID, what was it doing last year? Then the third topic, I will talk about this growth opportunity in the post-era of COVID, which is next year, 2022 onwards, all right? Then what is the winning age of Singapore and what we can do in Singapore, in fact, all right? Okay, on this first slide itself, this is a table that extract the figure from World Bank. The source comes from World Bank, actually. Okay, in 2018, okay, the year here, 2018, if you follow my cursor, all right? In 2018, before the COVID, ASEAN comprises 10 countries. They have 650 million population, and the GDP on the overall among these 10 countries was 5.7%. Okay, if you look at China alone, just one single country has got 1.3 billion population in 2018, and the growth of GDP was 6.75%. So effectively speaking, if you use a very linear mathematics, okay, as the economist or the market analyst, it actually means that in that year, if you throw a single dollar investing in ASEAN countries on the whole, in the 10 countries, you would have gotten back, okay, $5.70, okay, 5.7 times returns. But the same amount of $1 that you put into China, you would actually fetch back a higher return, 6.75%, which was why China was one of the highest growth country before the COVID, okay. Then this second slide is based on World Bank again, okay, but on the year 2020, which is after the COVID. That was last year. Okay, based on last year's statistics, if you look at China, the GDP actually reduced to 2.3%. All right, but China last year was still the only country in the whole world that has got a positive GDP. All the countries got negative, including EU. But if you look at ASEAN last year, the 10 countries together actually suffered a negative growth of 4.2%. And in EU, European Union has got 27 countries after UK was removed. They have a negative 6.21% growth. All right. So based on this very simple figure again, what we can derive here is, even based on last year, whatever money that you invested in China, you could have made 2.3 times returns. Okay, and of course, last year, most of the investment in ASEAN and in Europe actually has got negative yield. So when we compare in the post-COVID era, all right, where would be a good place to invest your money and to see a faster rebounds and growth? Of course, we have to take note of many things like, okay, how big is the market size and how big is the consumer base? Okay, market size and consumer base are different. I want to give you an example. Today, if you are talking about Thailand has got about maybe 70 million population. Okay. Vietnam has got about 90 million population. It's about 30% more, but Vietnam has got much stronger consumer base. People are more willing to spend money in that place. So this is what I meant by consumer base. And of course, where to invest the money in post-COVID also depends on that country or that region. Are they actually adopting a digital transformation and the operating costs? All right, because we all know that during these 2 years, what the COVID has effectively done to the whole world is the COVID has actually propelled every company, every person to start switching their mind on thinking how to go digital. If you are still doing the traditional business without apps or without any digital transformation, I think that will be a big disaster, right? So this is the third slide. Now we are taking this extract again from World Bank, okay, based on this year 2021, the forecast on next year. So in the post-COVID, okay, what World Bank actually has predicted is from now onwards to next year, East Asia mainly means the ASEAN plus Pacific, and Pacific includes Australia and New Zealand. Okay, on this whole, these two regions were probably create a 7.7% growth. Okay, compared to last year, there was a negative 4.21%. Okay, but in EU, okay, EU, as I mentioned, the 27 countries plus Central Asia, which includes Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all those places, and Turkey. All right, the total growth expected is only about 3.9%. This is a very strong signal that tells us after the COVID post era, a lot of funds, even from Europe itself, would rather come to ASEAN than to put in Central Asia. Although they have low labor costs, they have pretty cheap cost of living. Okay, but in ASEAN, what we have is we've got very strong infrastructure. Okay, on law, on logistics, on shipment, on many things. Okay, so this is a very good sign, which I have been encouraging a lot of entrepreneurs. Okay, stay in Asia, stay in ASEAN. All right, so next year itself, what I foresee, okay, although we are talking about IT, we are talking about fintech, we are talking about digital transformation, but once the COVID recovery kicks in, what will be the 10 fastest sector of business that will recover? And surprisingly and not surprisingly, these are actually all the traditional businesses that has been bogged down because of the COVID. Okay, number one, we are talking about tourism. Definitely there'll be a big recovery because everybody can't wait to go recreation, to go holidays and to play, and of course to re-establish business. Okay, so if everybody travels, aviation, transport, logistics, hospital, hospitality, all this will be actually inside the top tier of recovery, which is actually now starting. We are starting to see this sign. All right, even Airbnb has been suffering for the last 2 years, but I think they're going to make a big comeback. All right, we have the integrated entertainment, just like the Macau. We have the Singapore Sentosa. Okay, Philippines. We have the World Resort. All this will be coming back on. Okay, including malls, retails, food and beverages, printing, manufacturing, educations, building, construction. All these are the first traditional business that will start to recover. Okay, probably over the year end to next year, 2022. All right, so in 2022, what are we going to expect effectively? Okay, when we look at these three areas, number one is on a global area, a global level. Number two is on the macroeconomic level. Number three is on which sector to move into. Okay, these are just a very, what I call it, a very, although it's a bit superficial on the coverage, but it will still give you a very good idea on what are the big directions in 2022. Okay, first of all, on global level next year, whether the market will be doing good or no good, or whether there will be inflation, just follow the US bonds, especially, or the European bonds, you will know. Because whenever bonds prices start to drop, I'm talking about government bonds, okay, effectively that means the interest rate will be increasing, okay, which will cause an impact to our living costs, also to stock market prices. All right, because US is talking about tapering and increasing interest rates. Effectively, it could be somewhere middle next year, 2022. Okay, but then yesterday, the president of European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, actually made a statement, and she said that European Central Bank is not looking at all, okay, on any rate hike in 2022 because although we see an inflation, but on the overall, they still need low interest rates in order to propel and to support the economic growth. All right, so bonds is an important indicator. Then number two, I think we should be paying a lot of attention into space technology. Okay, space technology, because we all know that China is effectively going into this as well. In Chinese, we call 航天科技. Okay, that also is very closely related to 5G technology. I think moving into the future, everything will be going into the smart sector, like smart TV, smartphone, smart home, smart aircon, smart vehicle. So electric vehicles, EV is not about just an EV anymore. It's going to be autonomous driving, which is first in the world, already started in some parts of China. We all know that. And also on the ESG business, okay, ESG business, which is environmental friendly, it stands for okay, environmental friendly, socially responsible, green, okay, and good for environment. Okay, globalization is one very important thing as well. Okay, globalization, that means the whole world will become smaller because of IT and fintech technology. Okay, one more thing on the global level is RCEP. In 2022, which is just 2 months from now, okay, we are going to launch one of the biggest event in the whole world for this decade, okay, on the 1st January, which kicks in the RCEP. Okay, it stands for the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Okay, this is a trade-free pact that binds 15 countries together. Okay, the 10 ASEAN countries plus 2 Northern Asia countries, which is Korea and China. Korea and Japan. Okay, plus 2 Pacific countries, Australia and New Zealand. So we got 14 countries plus China, 15. All right. This is not something they're going to start straight away and say 15 countries will go trade-free. But it will take about another 10 years to 15 years to slowly implement and involve the whole. But at least I think from ASEAN, we are very advantageous among the 10 countries and China. We are going to have a trade-free policy coming up in more shipping ports into China, rather than just Guangxi or certain parts like in Shanghai now. All right, so look out for RCEP. This will actually effectively give a lot of trade vibrance in our region. All right, on the macro level, economics, okay, US dollar. Personally, I feel, okay, I'm not writing explanation, but I will just speak here. Personally, I feel that dollar will start to tank down again in 2022 because President Biden is a Democrat. So on the past 30 to 40 years, we have seen a Democrat president, especially starting from Bill Clinton and Obama. Okay, they always favor a weak dollar by printing more money to support the economy. Okay, I'm not going to explain why they print money, but they are really printing money. In fact, Biden just came on board for first year only this year, 2021. Okay, he has signed total more than $3 trillion of stimulus, which is going to be printed. And this is the biggest stimulus among all the presidents in the tradition of the US. So when dollar tanks down and weakens, what's going to happen is we're going to see a big spike in commodity prices. All right, commodities starting from food prices, grains, farm gate prices, and also including metal prices like aluminum, copper, gold prices, even crude oil prices, which is why this year alone, because of the stimulus kicked out by this President Biden, we are seeing copper prices, coal prices going up. Okay, gold prices, silver prices also recovering. Crude prices also moving back to $80 per barrel. This is exactly why, because of a favoring of a potentially weak US dollar to come. All right, this is something I think everybody should pay attention. And global supply chains will also start to shift, okay, after the post-COVID, which personally I feel that China is now facing a very big inflation problem, okay, like US, just like Europe. So in the post-COVID, most likely the whole supply chain will move from China, okay, effectively to where? I'm actually taking a very close look at Vietnam, Indonesia, and Philippines. These three ASEAN countries. Most likely a lot of supply chain upstream manufacturer and midstream will move to these three countries. All right, so this is something that we have to take pay attention. Then of course renewable energies like wind farm, solar farm, and water, hydro energies will all be very well researched and put into execution very soon. This is to save the world. Because of COVID, we all know that, you know, human race, we have to start taking care of our Mother Earth. If not, for this COVID, if it comes again, I think they will wipe out the whole planet. Okay, so now on the last part, analysis on sectors. Okay, I want to reiterate again as just on the table that I shown. Okay, 2022, for those people who are in tourism business, congratulations. I think you are going to have a big time soon after last 2 years of suffering. Okay, high-tech business, definitely. Okay, high-tech business, as you can see, mainly in US, NASDAQ. We are talking about Facebook, Netflix, Apple, Amazon. Okay, but of course, in China, in the East itself, we also have BYD in Hong Kong. This is considered also high-tech. Okay. And JD Health, all these are the high-tech companies like Tencent. We should be looking at them. Okay, and the third instrument here is the 5G related businesses. Okay, as I mentioned, 5G is the future of the world. Okay, regardless whether 6G, 7G is coming or not. Okay, whether you like it or not, 5G has actually initiated and erupted a trade war between US and China. Okay, we have all seen that, and we knew it's because of 5G, because of Huawei. Okay, China has got very good research and development of technology, especially in 5G. Okay, I don't know how they are going to bypass US and continue to move to the world. But although we know that China can kickstart 5G, but 5G is definitely one of the leading technology that will shake the world, turn it upside down. All right, in a positive way, of course. Then on business sectors, mining is also another important sector that you should be looking. Okay, food tech, okay, food technology, because into the future we are not looking at just primary source of food. We are looking at food tech. We are even now looking at plant-based meat. Okay, and then this plant-based meat is no more like those vegetarian mock meat that is made from flour or from soy. So the new type of this food technology actually is so competitive that people is not able to differentiate between a real meat and a plant-based meat. Okay, and also we need food tech technology in order to create more food source and supply to the world. Okay, manufacturing as well, I think has been slowed down for the last 2 years. It's time to pick up properties and of course recycling businesses. So these are not just all, but part of the many sectors that will recover next year. Okay, it does not limit to just here, but I just put up a few important elementary industries that all of us should be taking a close look at it. Okay, next I'm going to talk about quickly in Singapore. Okay, what winning edge we have. In Singapore, we all know that we are just at Hong Kong. We are very small. Okay, less than 800 kilometers square. Okay, but we have this REIT market, and REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. Okay, it's a public listed trading instrument on the stock market. We have the biggest REIT market in Asia. All right, ex-Japan, of course, with a total market cap of 100 billion Sing dollars. Okay, so which means if you invest in any REIT market, okay, you will get on the average about 5%. Now maybe because of COVID about 4 or 4.5%, still higher than the bank. Back in like 5 years back, there's a possibility that there are some REIT instrument in Singapore that you invest in the stock market. You could be getting paid about maybe 6, 7 or 8% per annum return, which is very high. So this is what makes Singapore very unique on this REIT market. Okay, and taking a look at this Singapore real estate prices. This is a newspaper extract from May 22nd. All right, it says that Singapore has the worst recession in 55 years since we became independent in 1965 until now, about 55 years. Okay, the worst recession because of COVID, but our private property market does not reflect that. In fact, this year, 2021, okay, I think it's very phenomenal that we are seeing Singapore property prices, starting from private properties, they are still skyrocketing. Condominiums of that 9-year lease, they are still moving up. And of course, public housing and HDB, they are also very firm. Okay, what actually happened is because Singapore has created, our government has created a very strong and good financial structure to invite all the foreign rich, high net worth individuals or rich families, okay, to come to Singapore and erect their own family office here to manage their wealth. Okay, of course, the instrument can be in Singapore or can be offshore. And number one, they can get a employment pass easily that land them in Singapore in and out easily. Number two, they can bring their spouse and family. And third thing is, of course, this family office, if they successfully get the mandate in Singapore, they are actually tax-free or have high tax incentive. That actually inspired and invited a lot of ultra high net worth from over the world to come to Singapore. So when they come, of course, this high net worth, they need a good place to stay. So that's why they are buying houses. So this is a chain effect. When so much fund has come into Singapore, and these individuals want to live in a good environment. So it's a chain effect that caused all the property prices going up. Okay. And another factor I want to emphasize is one reason why Singapore property prices have been going up over the last 40 years, okay, about 35 to 40 years. If you look at this chart, is of course, the mortgaging and refinance of the housing rate have also been coming down. It has never gone up because we follow the US policy, US dollar monetary policy very closely to them. So if you look at this mortgage loan rate since 1983 from 12%, okay, over last about close to 40 years, 35 years, has been coming down to now about 2.5 or 2.4%. So on the average in Singapore, if you buy a house and get a mortgage loan, you're paying on the average every year about 2% loan for the next 20, 25 or 30 years. This is a very attractive loan policy to inspire a lot of people to be a house owner or a house buyer. Okay. All right, my last slide here. Okay, not to promote or sell Singapore. Of course, Hong Kong is good, Malaysia is good. I always say ASEAN 10 countries are all good because I traveled to all these 10 countries. I love each and every single one of them, including Hong Kong itself, although Hong Kong is not part of ASEAN. Okay, what you can do in Singapore if you come here, all right, you can always contact us if you want to, all right. Number one, you can set up family office. Number two, you can set up a trust fund, okay, or charity trust fund. Number three, property investment as well. Number four, you can do merger acquisition, M&A. Number five, relocation of a business HQ in Singapore, which I think we are very competitive in corporate tax, just like Hong Kong. Hong Kong, if I remember correctly, is 16% or 16.5%. Later, you can ask Steve. Singapore is 17% on the corporate tax law. So I think that is one of the lowest in the world. Onshore tax, not offshore. All right, or you can come here, okay, using a family office or set up an investment fund here. You can invest in financial market because Singapore is a springboard to invest all over the world, which means if you have an account in Singapore, you can invest in US market, you can invest in China, Hong Kong market, Malaysia market, Thailand. You can also invest in European London market. So we're a central springboard. Okay, that's the advantage. And a lot of rich individual comes to Singapore to purchase universal life insurance. Okay, because Singapore is next free on this. Then once again, Singapore is a springboard to the ASEAN and the world. Okay, not only to the ASEAN, the rest of my countries, but to the world. And healthcare living. So besides what Fariza just presented on the first session, all right, Malaysia is a good place for healthcare. I do agree that, but Singapore is also another good place, especially a lot of Indonesians in the past 50 years have come to Singapore. But now I also see some individuals from other parts of the world are coming to Singapore for healthcare treatment and living. And last but not least, retirement plan. Okay, some people say Singapore is not a good place to retire because it is very expensive. Okay, but some people say Singapore is a good place to retire if you have a good house to stay, and of course, socially speaking, it is a very safe city. Okay, we got very low crime rate. Okay, low crime rate, so retirement could be suitable to some people, but may not be to all. But in any case, so I put it as one of the things that you can consider what you can do in Singapore. All right. So thank you very much for the listening. All right. I hope I'm not taken more than half an hour. All right. I shall stop sharing the screen and pass the mic back to Vincent.
Thank you.
All right,
Mr. Wong.
Back to you.
Okay. There's it seems that there's a bit of competition now between Singapore, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. Okay, in different areas. But I would say actually like what Mr. Steve Wong has mentioned just now. Actually now it's getting more and more internationally collaborations. That means Malaysia can collaborate with Singapore on certain aspect. Okay, I'm sure that there are a lot of health professionals who practice in both Malaysia and Singapore. Okay, we received some very good surgeon who actually came to Penang for a lot of surgery in the, let's say, the Adventist Hospital, one of the member hospital of MHCC. So, but let us actually go to one topic that I believe the audience would like to know. Okay, in the current context of financial market, everyone is thinking, okay, yes, you tell me that let's say technology is good to invest, or maybe we're going to witness a very strong this opening of the economy, the traditional business such as travel agencies and such as medical travel will boom again. But a lot of people are worried about Evergrande. Okay, the impact on China financial and property market. Okay, since now you are the expert in financial market as well. Okay, so we'd like to actually hear from you. What is your take on this?
Okay, I will be the first one. Okay, yes. Basically, I have actually did a study on Evergrande 2 months back when they first default on the debt. Okay, I have a few points just to mention, so I think it's more clear you guys will understand. Okay, first of all, we have to understand Evergrande debt is different to Lehman Brothers debt in 2008 crisis. All right, Lehman Brothers had a debt of $550 billion and collapsed. Okay, Evergrande has got about 300 billion. Okay, compared to $550 billion. Okay, and Evergrande, and those days in 2008, Lehman Brothers, the reason why they collapsed because they have huge debt, and they are holding all paper instrument, just papers only. All right, the subprime crisis, the debt instrument. But Evergrande actually, although they are in big debt, but they have a lot of physical properties. So today we are talking about asset. Okay, it is the asset that caused them, and the asset that is over leveraged, involved in too much loan and debt, which caused them to have default. But Lehman Brothers has got no asset. You get me? Okay, so now we come back. Once you understand this point one, I will talk about point two. So Evergrande has got huge debt, which the asset now has got is moving into liability. Now, okay, second point is, yes, we do agree that Evergrande is one of the largest property players in China, okay, and Hong Kong, and it's also listed in Hong Kong. It will definitely create a movement, a shake in the market that will make people panic, or it may even have a chain effect on all the property developers in China and Hong Kong especially. This one we cannot doubt. okay, it will happen. But now I want to talk about point number 3 is, I strongly believe that they are able to get over these obstacles. Okay, my reason is this. Today, we all know that China has got a huge problem in retail living. Okay, what I mean is this. A lot of people youngsters are not able to afford buying new houses to get married because it has been so expensive and the prices have been, greatly speculated. All right, which why the Chinese government is moving into building public housing by following Singapore style, okay, on a 60-year lease on a lower price, okay, to let all the common folks and the youngsters to buy. But having done this project, China still got not enough new houses for the youngsters. Okay, so now if you understand this, I go to point 4. Chinese government still have a lot of surplus of cash. All right, of course you ask me, hey, Dawon, how do you know? My answer is, I guess, but I know they have a lot of money, definitely. We all know that. Okay, if Chinese government, okay, is willing to give a lending hand and take over some of these, we call the toxic asset, or maybe not toxic, we call debt asset from Evergrande. Of course, it won't be buying at market price now. We all know that. Okay, because a lot of things are inflated, even at a price that Evergrande cut loss. But Chinese government can effectively, okay, take over all this asset or part of asset, okay, and redistribute to Chinese citizens. Okay, this is what in Chinese we call 两全其美. It actually benefit both ways. But on the other hand, Evergrande, I really don't think they will go bankrupt. Although I know the debt is huge. End of the day, they just need someone, especially the Chinese government has got the money to put up a price, and Evergrande is willing to sell. Even to me, doing business, even though cut loss, so what? You are not losing to zero. You are just probably making some loss. Evergrande is so diversified in many businesses. They are also doing research. They are talking about developing and manufacturing EV as well, okay, electric vehicles. So to me, Evergrande, yes, it's a good time for them to re-strategize and reorganize their business. What does not make money, cut away. Of course, when you cut, there must be somebody who is there to hope and take over. So who is this? I think Chinese government. Okay. At the end of the day, when this exercise is executed, but this is my own opinion only. When this exercise is being executed, I think there will be no losers. Everybody will win. Chinese government is a winner. They gain good reputation. Chinese citizens will also gain the benefits, and Evergrande can survive. But then again, this is my opinion only. But I think it will happen. Right.
Okay, Mr. Steve Wong, I think we are not going to ask you about what you think about Evergrande, but just in case, if really Evergrande or other Chinese developers defaulted on the bond and resulted in a potential bankruptcy and, let's say, liquidations, okay, in the context of what you have just shared,
yes,
what do you think will likely happen to them, especially because all these US dollar denominated bond are issued in Hong Kong, right?
Well, largely I agree with that. Well, on the insolvency issue, I think that is there will be a test of what I just said, the mutual recognition of insolvency between Hong Kong and mainland. There will be a very, very good opportunity to test, because that mutual recognition, that issue is particularly for the protection of offshore debt holder, for them to protect. They can that mutual recognition can help them to enforce the asset claim in the mainland China. So this will keep our finger crossed. What will happen if that how to put into use of this mutual recognition, and then Hong Kong will play a very important role when all those defaults occur. And then how to liquidate those Chinese assets, how to commence the winding up proceeding or corporate reconstructuring proceeding in Hong Kong, and then implement this into the China asset. So that will be a very interesting development. I will just keep my finger crossed how we are going to invoke that mutual recognition arrangement.
Okay, because as I understand, like what one of the speakers in this morning's ASEAN session shared, the one in Vietnam, a lot of the foreign entities or foreign companies do not set up the entity in Vietnam. They're using a contract, okay, a contract to go into business in Vietnam. Similarly, for let's say Evergrande or even other Chinese companies, they are using VIE, variable interest entity, as a form to get listed in Hong Kong or even in Singapore. And theoretically, it's a different entity than the one they have in China. So will this new liquidation law still apply to this type of situations?
Well, I just can't tell. I just really can't tell, because I was informed that the Chinese government is beginning to look into BIE. They are starting considering whether this mode of business entity has some loophole. So I really consider that will be something we have to be very careful.
I see. Okay. So we just have to see how it turns out, because this will be a precedent to be observed for the future. Okay. So I want to probably understand, or I mean observe that all these topics actually arises when we move into different legal jurisdictions. Okay, from China to Hong Kong, from let's say the foreign investor is also worried about, let's say Singapore investor is also worried about what happened in China. Okay, Malaysia Healthcare Travel Councils, I presume that they are worried if Chinese citizens are not traveling in 2022, because that is one of the biggest market. Okay, so I'm sure that Mr. Farizal, do you think there should be, I mean, I'm sure that you're also pursuing the efforts. Since you already have vaccinated travel lane arrangement, let's say with Singapore and with Indonesia moving forward, are you going to have that with Hong Kong or even China?
Now, that's also a very good and an interesting question to ask. In fact, our health minister himself has said that the economies within the region needs to reopen for it to facilitate trade movement, and they are in fact doing a lot of G2G discussions as we speak now. Hence, he made an announcement about Singapore, Indonesia was mentioned, and most recently also discussions with his counterparts in Thailand. So I think it's really about the readiness of both parties in order for us to really open up the borders safely. And for us, our national level safety is also as important as those that we bring into the country. So this has to be done very carefully, very thoughtfully, in order for it not to spread even greater. So yes, and I think 2022 will definitely be a year where we have to watch, because not every market will open simultaneously. That's number one. And every market will have a very different way of, I think, behavior, particularly towards healthcare. And we have seen a shift in nationals from different countries coming into Malaysia, really seeking for more critical care. So if the borders are more relaxed, perhaps they can come in for more elective care as well.
Okay, so I see the time now that we are almost just 5 minutes away from the end of the sessions. So I'd like to invite all the panelists to actually give a closing remark. So I'll start with Mr. Farizal. Actually, through these sessions, what we're trying to understand is what is the Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council strategy post-COVID in the context of your focus in Asia Pacific. So please share with us in the closing remark.
All right. So firstly, thank you very much for inviting us. I think for us, 3 key pointers that we are really focusing on in 2022 is number 1, I think we cannot do this alone. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate is the name of the game. Point number two, we will continually focus on our two key direction in 2022, which is to ensure that Malaysia is seen and perceived always across every market as being a safe and trusted destination for healthcare travel. And lastly, I think in an era of post-COVID and many economies are reopening again, we need to be very agile, to be adaptable and fast in seizing opportunities so that we are in the forefront of what we deliver, particularly in healthcare.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Farizal. Mr. Steve Wong.
Yes.
Okay, I hope to actually see you in Hong Kong pretty soon. But that is in the context that there's no more 21 days vaccinated. I mean, this quarantine. But
Yes.
before that, this is out of control. But before that, what we know is Hong Kong has always been the gateway to China. Okay.
Yes.
We understand that you have shared a lot, but what is your personal view? Okay, or some advice for someone who will consider Hong Kong as the gateway? What should they consider?
Yes. Now, I'm also very grateful that I've been given this opportunity to explain the present situation in Hong Kong, and particularly try to clarify certain misunderstanding, particularly from the Western media, and I will ensure that the future Hong Kong will be much better. And as you know, for all economic development, for all business, one will have to a peaceful environment. This is very important. So pleasantly, as I understand, the business organization from Japan and American is reduced a little bit, but nevertheless, once they understand the situation in Hong Kong fully, they will come back. So as I said again, China will preserve Hong Kong. Will look in Hong Kong it's still a very important venue for China. So China will continuously give a lot of blessing to Hong Kong. So the future of Hong Kong will be even brighter. So that is what I can assure you or everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Steve Wong. And off to you, the other Mr. Wong, the Singapore Wong.
Thank you, Vincent.
Share with us what we should be looking into in 2022.
Yeah, I think moving to 2022 and to summarize my paper today, I think basically I got 3 points only, 3 points for everybody to remember. Number one is from this COVID, we have seen a lot of changes. Okay, so when we are moving into post-COVID, which is 2022, all right, we call the endemic, be ready for changes. More things will be changed because in fact, we have seen things changes. It doesn't mean they will stay. More changes will come. All right, in many ways. I'm not going to touch on it, but just be ready for change, okay? Then number two is for those people in the business, even including myself, all right? Be ready to transform your business, okay, in the area of products, in the area of services, all right? And even you may want to consider changing the market locality. Because if you are doing the same thing in this market area for a long time, and because of COVID, something is not right, or maybe post-COVID, you find it's difficult to move further, to progress, I think it's time to look at new market because this COVID has really changed the market landscape in many, many ways, in terms of consumer spending, in terms of the way people spend money, in terms of the product and the service they want. All right, so, okay, point one is be ready for change. Point two is be ready for our own transformation. And point three, I think is very important. Over the last 2 years, when COVID has been flaring across the world, no doubt, we have seen China is the best country in managing COVID and the first one to recover. And as I mentioned earlier in my slide, China, even in COVID last year, China is the only country still have positive GDP, all right? So what will happen to China after post-COVID? I will strongly believe it will become only stronger and nowhere else to go, all right? So I have this term, which I have come up with, all right? I want everybody to remember. Okay, before the COVID, okay, the world's market looks at China. But after the COVID, okay, China will become the market to the whole world. This is what I truly believe.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Da Wong. Thank you for all of you for such an insightful sharing today. And since we're already 4 o'clock, I actually will call this a day. But before we go, I would like to let everyone know that we have 2 other sessions coming out soon. One is that we have sessions about another place in Greater China, okay, which are also enjoying positive GDP growth for the past 2 years, and it's Taiwan. So we would like to actually share with everyone, if you are intending to establish a business in Taiwan, what are the precautions, what are the things that you need to be careful about? And it's going to be shared at the sessions, the public sessions area at 4 o'clock, which is now. But at 5 o'clock, we are having another this main stage event called Going Beyond Malaysia, Know Your Business Gateway to the West. Okay, we have 3 very insightful panelists who share about different aspects of what you need to be careful about, what you can actually look forward to in the gateway to the East, in the context of Asia. But now, if you are interested to move towards European Union, we have 3 other speakers who represent 3 different countries in Europe, namely Cyprus, Italy, and Poland. And as a whole, they are European Union. So feel free to join in at 5 o'clock. But in the meantime, feel free to join our, to visit our expo area for the 50 over virtual booth. Thanks a lot, everyone. I hope that these sessions is of help to everyone in terms of the knowledge shared. But most important, this knowledge is shared for charitable cause. So feel free to also donate in the booth over the side. Okay, thanks everyone. Stay healthy, stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
สมาคมการค้าอาเซียนจีนก่อตั้งเมื่อวันที่ 15 สิงหาคม ปีพุทธศักราช 2556 โดยมีสมาชิกผู้ร่วมก่อตั้งประกอบด้วย สมาคมการค้าอาเซียนจีนมีพันธกิจเพื่อพัฒนาความร่วมมือธุรกิจการค้าทั้งภาคเอกชนและภาครัฐในประเทศต่างๆอีกทั้งยังส่งเสริมให้เกิดการแลกเปลี่ยนข้อมูลเพื่อยกระดับความสามารถการแข่งขันทางเศรษฐกิจของประเทศในอาเซียนจีนให้มากยิ่งขึ้นสมาคมการค้าอาเซียนจีนยังเป็นส่วนหนึ่งในการผลักดันให้เกิดความร่วมมือทางเศรษฐกิจสำคัญต่างๆอาทิการผลักดันโครงการก่อสร้างสนามบินเบตงการลงนามเมืองมิตรภาพระหว่างจังหวัดยะลาและมณฑลหูเป่ยประเทศจีนนอกจากนี้สมาคมการค้าอาเซียนจีนได้ร่วมจัดงานสัมมนา World Chinese Elite Entrepreneur Summit 2015 and China ASEAN Cooperation Forum ที่กรุงเทพมหานครและงานสัมมนา The Second ASEAN Economic Community Integration Strategy Cooperation Forum ภายในงานมหกรรมแสดงสินค้าจีนอาเซียน CA Expo ซึ่งจัดขึ้นเป็นประจำณเมืองหนานหนิงประเทศจีนและยังได้ร่วมกับหอการค้าจีนอินโดนีเซียจัดงาน Indonesia China Trade and Investment Cooperation Forum ณกรุงจาการ์ตาประเทศอินโดนีเซียสมาคมการค้าอาเซียนจีนพร้อมแล้วที่จะร่วมเป็นแรงผลักดันสนับสนุนทั้งภาครัฐและเอกชนให้ก้าวสู่ AEC อย่างมั่นคง
Here in Singapore, we see that the investors here, they are really actively looking outside for opportunities in outside the country. And the good thing is now here in ASEAN itself, the opportunities are so close, that close to us. We don't have to look far. This is actually, I feel, is a golden decade, and this is also the golden region.
I want to thank GA Group for collaborating with us this year to have the Global Diaspora Summit as well as the ASEAN Legal Alliance Conference to be held jointly. And it was also my pleasure to have signed the collaboration agreements with OA International, Estate Planning Council, as well as Guangxi 1E Law Firm. Congratulations to all of you, and hope that we can do more business together.
Before she started Eden in Taiwan, she asked herself this question: is it possible for a disabled to experience paradise in a world of indifference? And to her, the answer is yes, it's possible with God. And I share that same aspiration as her, that I know that with God, nothing is impossible for the disabled. So he and his wife, me and my wife Madeleine, so 4 of us, we started this work. And that was in the year 1991.
After 18 years old, they have nowhere to go. So parents send to us, where should the child go? So what we do is we open up this shelter workshop. Over here, we provide training. Training in the sense that basic skill. When they involve in this subcontract work, we are actually giving them a therapy. Therapy in the sense of physical therapy and mental therapy, a mental aspect. So one of it, a company approached us and said, hey, you have any person can do cleaning service. Oh, so this is an opportunity. So we send our staff for training first. The day when you see them, wow, they're able to do something. They're able to be leaders with the other disabled, you know? Or they're able to perform certain things beyond expectation. That is the greatest achievement.
好像你有一大笔钱的话啦，你也不会高兴，但是看在他们生命的那种改变啊，哇，真的很难忘，然后又很感动。我的感受就是说，我每天的话都是在上课。因为我有一班的好老师，我们的生活突然之间的改变，或者是情形我们的肢体方面有一点缺陷，还是说忽然之间我们失去哪一个部分，那我们就觉得这一生已经完了。其实坦白讲的话呢，我相信上天在我们身上哪一个部位去，就是说他一定会开路给我们。
When we first started Eden, parents asked me, their greatest worry is when they die, who is going to take care of my child? That is one of their greatest worries. So I'm also working towards that goal. And in my many years of working with people with disabilities, I have come to acknowledge that the disability is not the big problem. It's the attitude and the character that is the major problem.
I myself disabled. And today I excel myself because I told myself, nothing is impossible for me. If normal people can do, I also can do, you know. So I want to use my life to serve disabled back, to help them to be independent. We have 77 workers, but out of the 77 workers, 60% are intellectual disabled. So all comes up at 90,000 and solely on public donation. So I would say that the public helps us a lot. You know, I should be thankful, appreciative to sponsors, to donors who have confidence in us, that they supported us this week. What the disabled wants is an opportunity, not a sympathy. Give them a chance in life.